Hello, I'm a Mac.
And I'm a PC.
Welcome to the Real Tech Podcast, bringing you the real talk about the tech of tomorrow that you should adopt today to improve your life. And now, here are your hosts, Tony and Raphael.
Today we have an awesome, amazing list of incredible things we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about Amazon again because it sucked me into the vortex. I'm in the Amazon ecosystem. We're going to talk about some new stuff with Microsoft. They're starting to do some interesting things, and I think. Hey, listen, I'm an Apple fanboy. I don't know if I'd go back to the Microsoft world, but I think they're doing some interesting things. And, of course, the car of the century, I think. The one that everybody, I know in Orlando, Florida here, they were actually standing in line the night before. And I think it was happening at other stores, the Tesla 3. I think this is going to be the car of the century. I think people... listen, if they provide half of the things they said in the preview of this car, actually get in the car, and the price point stays around where they're talking, this will be the car of the century. So let's not waste any more time. Let's get into this awesome show. All right, what's first up, Ralph?
Yeah, so let's talk that. Your Echo Dot. I mean, I just so exciting that you got it in, and I just want to hear your thoughts. How you've been using it, how you've been using it in unison with your current Amazon Echo, and just really talk about your experience.
Yeah, so this is my little Echo Dot. You can see it's like not even half. It's like I don't know what that would be, like a tenth of the size of.
Yeah, it's basically somebody samurai cut the top off of the Echo.
Yeah, it still has the two buttons on the top. One's the power, and one's to mute the speaker. It still has the typical ring. To adjust your volume. The really shitty thing is the speakers on the speaker is just these little holes on the bottom. So it's really not a lot of stuff there. But what it does have on the back is a audio output where you can hook up one of your favorite little speakers. So this little guy is now in my bedroom. And what I did was I got another set of bulbs for my bedroom and created a little group for that.
I've created a monster here.
Yeah. so now I, like if I'm laying on the couch and I'm gonna go to bed, I'll tell the Alexa in the living room, hey, go turn on the bed lights, and it'll turn on those lights. And then when I hop in bed and whatever. I can tell this guy to turn off the lights, and I can tell it to set my Ecobee to sleep temperature. Let's do this.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Are they far enough apart where they don't both activate?
Depends. It depends on where I'm standing. Sometimes, if I'm standing between the two of them, the mic is strong enough where it'll pick up either one. Which is not really a bother. I mean, they're doing the same functions.
Yeah, and the audio comes back from what I've seen on videos online. It seems to happen at the same time, basically.
Yeah. Alexa, shuffle Bruce Springsteen.
Shuffling Bruce Springsteen.
That's a crappy song. Alexa, next song. Be 20 minutes before we get into music. So it's a very tinny kind of sound.
Yeah, so I mean, but actually, that was the biggest surprise for me is that I originally didn't know that.
I mean, that's full blast.
Yeah, I didn't know the Echo Dot was going to have a tinny speaker. So the fact that it even has a tinny speaker is, basically like having a smartphone speaker on your device is better than having nothing. But most people are definitely going to want to attach this to some other speaker they have lying around. You could do it with Bluetooth. You could do it with that audio jack connection. Yeah, and I see a lot of people definitely connecting this to their surround sound system that they have in their living rooms as well. as using it as a bedside unit.
Yeah. Alexa, set an alarm for 7:40 p.m.
Alarm set for 7:40 p.m.
We'll get to hear that because I wanted to do that the last time. So on the app, we can never see this. On the app, let me go to, let's see my settings, and it creates a, oh gosh, can't even see that. It creates another line. So you have your Echo and then your Echo Dot, and you can name them. You know, mine obviously called Tony's Echo and Tony's Echo Dot. The pairing is, you know, to get this on your network is, and my Ecobee does the same thing. You actually open up the app, you go to your Wi-Fi setting, and then this gives you, it's putting out like a Wi-Fi signal, okay, and then you connect to it, and then the app connects it to the network you select.
That's cool. Yeah, so it makes pairing, it makes setup very easy.
There's no keyboard. Where would I enter my password?
Cool. Yeah.
You know, it'd be like tap tap to tap tap to tap tap. You know, what would that be like? You know, so the pairing is great, and then it has, you know, very much the same. You can actually set this, you know, either one. You could have one have a different wake word than the other one. You know, rather than using or
Yeah, right now you're still using just
Yeah, I'm using the same one because my brain can't adjust that quickly. I'm too old. And then you can, you know, if I don't know, you have different settings from your Echo. But you know, for me, you know, it's now my alarm clock. It's my my little thing that sits on my nightstand and, you know, turns my light.
Wake up, sunshine.
Here you go.
Let me tell you, I've been up since the crack of dawn. If the early bird gets the worm, you know what Alec Baldwin gets? The early bird. Wake up, sunshine. Let me tell you,
Alexa, stop.
I've been up since the crack of dawn.
Alexa, stop. So that was the Alec Baldwin that I was trying to tell you about last week.
Yeah, and you could definitely, and our listeners should go check out our Facebook page, and because you posted it there.
Yeah, I did post it there too. But yeah, so I'm using it like for my alarm. I'm using it to turn off my lights. I'm using it to control my Ecobee thermostat, which we'll do a whole show on. You know, all from my bedroom, and you know, I probably could have screamed from my bed to the other one that's in the living room, which is not that far away. But why do that when you can get something cheap? And I hear this is now selling for $139.
Oh, I haven't checked that.
Yeah.
That would be not a happy moment for me. I'll tell you.
So, you know, I got it, you know, because I'm a Prime member. I got mine for $89. So if it's selling for $139, well.
Oh, it might be selling like that on eBay and things of that nature because people are definitely going to have it. And since this product, you can only buy it through
the Echo.
Through the Echo or the Amazon Fire TV,
yeah.
I believe you can do it there. Yeah. But basically, through those channels, people are going to have, you know, the demand is going to be there. Yeah. Especially that at $90, it's a steal. And let's say even at $130, while I wouldn't get it at that price, I still think there is some value there because of how much this device does.
Yeah.
And we were just commenting earlier before the show that this is like a great opportunity, and we kind of spoke to this in the last podcast for Amazon. You know, they've seen that Apple has kind of been slow to market with their HomeKit devices, and obviously they're using third-party devices. But since HomeKit is so locked down because of security reasons, because Apple really wants to get that, you know, the security stuff right, whereas some of these other companies like Google and Amazon are more willing to be on the bleeding edge and maybe sacrifice security to some extent. But at the same time, it means that there's already these tech products are more quickly coming into the hands of consumers, which is definitely a good thing. Yeah. So I just think that Amazon is taking advantage of what they see as a market potential. Yeah. That even Nest, that Google, which is rumored to have issues right now, is not taking advantage of. So why not Amazon?
Yeah, I mean, let's also talk about the fact that Amazon released instructions on how to build a Raspberry Pi Echo.
Yeah, that's definitely tickling the
Yeah,
tech fans.
yeah, and like I was saying to you, before we started, our brief discussion was, I think they're going to put it out there. They want to see what people can build and get their Echo to do. I'm using their Echo as a quote there, but you know, uh, because there are a lot of smart, creative, wacky people out there that will take that Raspberry Pi, build this Echo thing, that will do crazy things.
Yeah, we
And
just
I
saw.
think Amazon's going to steal those ideas and they're going to build them into, their product.
Definitely. I mean, we saw the Amazon Tap, which is the new speaker that they have,
Hmm.
and so there's already a Reddit user who attached his Echo Dot with a rubber band, basically rubber bands and some cables to his to a JBL speaker, so that he could kind of have this Echo Dot that he could take with him wherever he went. So, like, let's say he wanted in the bathroom, or he wanted it, in his kitchen, he could just take it with him, kind of like what the Echo and people wanted the Echo Tap to do, but it doesn't do, because the Echo Tap, you basically have to tap the button in order to get Alexa. But so yeah, I think that people, once they get it in their hand, ingenuity is amazing, and I think we're going to see a lot of stuff. And then, of course, like what you're saying, the APIs with Alexa are very open and allow so many people that are trying to get into the smart home business, because it's a growth category, no doubt, for these enterprises to get into. And there's still so much. Like, I was going to ask you, do you feel like you're, that overused phrase, do you feel like you're living in the future? And I want to see what you think already, like with all these things that you're adding to your house, how much has it felt like it's changed for you, your daily routines and things with just the few tech devices you added
Yeah,
to
I
your house?
think it's easier. I really do. And, listen, I want to be George Jetson. I really do.
Yeah.
A lot of people, some people like John and other people, they think I'm crazy.
Yeah.
But I think it's helping. And I wouldn't get the tap only because I'd have to physically touch
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. And
And
I think
if
that,
I'm doing something and I could just say, Alexa, let me hit the mute button.
yeah, we need to
If I could just say, Alexa, set a timer or turn on the lights, or, I really, really, the golden piece that I'm waiting for is the television. The television and the direct TV box. Once they integrate those two things, I'm done. I'm out.
Mhm.
I have, that's my nirvana. I want to be able to sit there and say, oh, Alexa, put on channel 2. Alexa, put on channel 4. Alexa, show me movies. I want it to be like Apple TV with Siri.
Yeah, I mean, the Xbox does a lot of that, and we'll talk about that, I'm sure, in another podcast. And I think we're going to see more of that with Microsoft and with what they're doing with Cortana. But I agree with you. I think, and that's a potential for Amazon as well. I mean, we saw Vizio come out this week with their new TVs, and they integrate Google Cast. But you could have any TV manufacturer integrate, Alexa into their system. So the potential is there for even something to that effect. So yeah, I mean, there's the whole home eventually you'll be able to talk to it. There's no doubt in my mind. And I think that more importantly, I think that this natural language and this talking thing, and this is actually something that will bleed into what we're going to talk about with Microsoft, is really the future, because the more you use it and the more you integrate your life into these, that it just seems natural as a way to interact with our computing devices, because we have way too many. People talk about, wow, you have an iPhone, you have an iPad, or you have all these devices. But the reality is, I don't see that stopping. Actually, I see it progressing. I think people will own more and more computing devices that we won't think as computers, but they will all be able to interact, and there has to be some sort of platform to enable you to speak to all of them. And Alexa is right now kind of the leader in this, actually.
Yeah. I was watching another tech podcast, and they were talking about the Echo being connected to the new Ford Sync. So you can ask your Echo device, how much gas is in the car?
Yeah.
Where is the car? How far is my wife from the house? And, it would tell your car is 3 miles from your house. So if you're trying to prepare dinner, or you wanted to get something done, or when she gets home you got to go do something else, you can know that. You can know how much gas is in the car just from sitting on the couch. Now, is that important? I guess if you're gonna get up and go on a trip, to go get gas. I think you can maybe even set reminders saying, "Hey, listen, the car's at a quarter tank. When you get in this car, you better start filling it up."
So I actually, that's actually something that I think you hit on something that's very interesting, which is that important? I think the answer is yes, but it's very hard right now because the problem I think with all this information, because we live in an information world, but we're kind of just getting into it. I really believe we're at this, just starting off here. I think that our world will have all this information, and the question is, how does it surface to us? Like right now, I'm getting notifications on my smartwatch constantly, and sometimes it's too much, sometimes it's too little, and sometimes it feels like the Goldilocks just right in the middle. But the thing is, right now, there's not that many devices that surfaces information like right when you need it.
Yeah.
And I think we'll see a tech products later on that will do that. We've seen in Microsoft's future homes and things of that nature, where your mirror, when you go to your morning routine, your mirror lights up with some information about your health data from your scale that you just weighed. And I think things of that nature will start to fill our home. Yeah. And I think what you mentioned, the TV is the natural, to me, the natural center point of our home. Yeah. And it could, while it's there not being used as a TV, while it's not for Netflix, it should have some active, data, being displayed on the TV and really kind of informing your day.
Yeah. I think that would be one thing I don't want my TV to do, is to tell me shit while I'm watching television. I hate the tickers at the bottom. I hate when they tell me who's won an election or what weather.
So you just want
television. If I want to know the weather, I'll go find out what the weather is. If I want to know who's winning the election, I'll go ask for that information. I don't like things displayed on my TV. I write to the television stations that I watch that do that, and it drives me batshit crazy. Listen, if I wanted to know that, I would go find that, but I don't. I don't care. If there's a hurricane coming, all right, maybe you want to tell me about that. But a thunderstorm, unless it's gonna burn down my house, don't bother me. I'm watching television. I'm looking for entertainment, not for the weather.
No, I agree. But what I'm talking about is, like, let's say you have your TV. Right now, we have our TVs currently off most of the time. We watch it maybe 3 hours of the day. But the truth is, the TV could always
not in my house.
Fine, but what I'm saying is the TV could always be on, right?
Yeah,
for the average consumer. And I'm saying in those screensaver type moments, you could have, instead of a screensaver with, Sony just floating around or whatever brand, you would have something displaying information.
Yeah. But fine, that would be great.
It would be great if
me the weather, or some news flash or whatever. That in the sleep mode, that's fine. That wouldn't annoy me. But if I'm watching television, you better damn well be off.
So what you're saying is you don't,
because I'm paying X amount of dollars for television. I want to watch television.
Yeah.
I don't care about sports or weather or who won the election or any of that crap. All right.
Yeah. So I wanted to jump into Microsoft's Build conference, and this podcast mainly focuses on what's important in your life. So we won't bore you with all the details of the Build conference, but I do think it's important as a as a technologist, and I think even someone who is just starting into technology, it's kind of interesting to learn about what the vision of these big companies are, and that's why we have talked about Apple and Amazon and Google and where we're going. And Microsoft's vision is very interesting. In some ways, it's laughable because it harkens back to this history that we had with bots in the days of AOL.
Right.
But at the same time, when you really hear Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella talking about this vision for the future in the coming years, you really start to get a sense that he might be right about all of it. So let me go ahead and talk about bots and the way that Microsoft is looking at it.
Yeah.
So Microsoft is, what they're suggesting is that the future of technology, as far as how we communicate, is going to happen through platforms, and specifically through messaging platforms. And I have to say that is actually pretty powerful, because if you start to think about what you do, like what's the vast majority of most people's time on their phones, it's dealing with messaging.
Yeah.
Whether that's Slack at work or that's Skype right now, or that's messaging, just text messaging, or WhatsApp, or all the millions of apps. That's 90%, I would say, of what people do on their phones. Of course, you have gaming, you have other things that people use on their on their phones. But I just think that I do think he's right about that. That at the end of the day, humans do what we've always done, which is to communicate,
Right.
and so it should be technology should reflect that, and it should push that forward. And I think it's kind of interesting because Microsoft's in this position where it lost on mobile. I mean, their mobile, they didn't even talk mobile at their developer conference.
Yeah.
As far as their phones, I mean, they mentioned Windows Phone like in passing, and after they had mentioned iPhones and Android, so they know they've lost that game and they're moving on. And I think it's interesting because the iPhone and the iPad by Steve Jobs were famously billed as this post PC world,
Right.
and now it's Satya Nadella, and in my opinion, he's the one with the bold vision out of all the tech companies right now, which is kind of, it's out there as an opinion, I would say,
Yeah.
but I actually think his vision is pretty bold now. Whether they can match it, that's a question, but I do think that his vision is very, very bold with this idea.
Yeah.
Now, as far as what they've announced, is that they've announced a bots framework so that developers can build basically integrations into your messaging platforms. So as an example, they showed Skype conversation, let's say happening between you and I, and we were just talking about going to California and staying for a weekend,
Right.
and then in that process, some other bot comes and says, "Oh, I see that you're trying to visit California and you're trying to stay in this place. Would you like this hotel? And would you like me to book you a hotel on these dates?" Because the bot would know some basic information from your text messaging.
Sure.
It would know you, it would know me, it would know where we're going and what days we're saying that we'd like to do.
Where we're from.
And so this bot, if you gave it access and if you said yes to these things, it would automatically start talking to another bot for that hotel and actually do the basic setup work that you would normally have to do by placing a call or going online.
Right.
And basically, it would book the room for you. It would give you the information within the messaging conversation, and we would be able to accept it and have our room booked in what seems like effortless compared to the daunting, challenge that it kind of is today.
Right.
And so, like, when you see that, and they're talking about these things through video chats and different integrations, and really, the vision is it's both bold, but at the same time, it leaves a lot of questions. I mean, we really don't know exactly what this will look like.
Yeah.
So I don't know. What do you think about this idea that?
Yeah, I think I saw them demo too a pizza scenario as well.
Yeah, Domino's now is everywhere and anywhere trying to make pizza delivery easier.
Yeah, so that's true. They're in the business of selling pizza. And
I'll be honest with you. I ordered Domino's the other day just because I saw the Microsoft.
So it's interesting because I guess this is where my scary spiny feeling get on the back. So we're having a conversation, and then some bot says, "Oh, you want to go to California, please?" So that means a bot is listening.
Sure.
To
no, it's reading your messages. Yeah.
All conversation I'm having on Skype.
Yep.
Now, if you think of the evil side of that,
and no, there's no doubt about that. Yeah. And
I have no way to know, I guess, and maybe I would, but right now, from what I know, is I have no way to know what would be listening, what bots could be listening to my conversation. Do I? Am I inviting the bots in? Like, am I inviting a travel bot in? Am I inviting the Domino's Pizza bot in? Am I inviting the Uber bot in?
Yeah. So we're obviously very early days, and Microsoft. This is just basically a vision.
Yeah.
But they did release 3 Skype bots on Skype, and I actually played with it for a little bit, and so you have, I don't know if you're gonna get to see it here, but you have Bing Music. you have Bing News and Bing Images, and when you click on one, but these kind of feel a lot like the AOL bots. But see here, I typed in on Bing News, I typed in Xbox, and it gave me these 3 articles. So I'll go ahead and I'll type a message. So news, I'll say presidential elections,
Right.
and I can't wait to see what it turns up.
Oh, sure.
So I'm gonna type in presidential elections, and hopefully something will happen. And there you go. It's already populating some text, which then turns into images.
Wow.
And so basically, right now, it's linking to articles.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, that's not the smartest thing possible, but it is pretty neat, and it's very quick. And it's a kind of it really, this is just an integration with Bing.
Yeah.
But the whole idea is that, like, they have developers. Actually, sorry. Let me get back to your question. Your question was that you basically add these individually.
Yeah.
So you come and you have to, it has a legalese PR thing telling you that you're signing your life away, that nobody's ever going to read. So I agree with you. The implications are scary. There's no doubt about it. And somebody smarter than I am maybe would have to really think it through. But at the end of the day, it is going to be something that you would have to, you would say whether you wanted to sign your life away to these bots.
And the same thing can be said for this. This is an active listening device.
Yeah.
I have to say a keyword, but it is always listening for the keyword, so it is actively listening. Is it sending everything to Amazon that I say? I don't know.
Yeah, it's not. If
I am Jeff Bezos, please send me something nice in the mail today.
That'd be awesome if you responded.
I do spend a lot of money on Amazon.com.
Yeah.
So that's what gets me a little weirded out by that. But on the,
But what I would say is, like, do you see it potentially?
It would have to be integrated into other things besides Skype for me. That's not my main platform.
Oh, I agree. They talk about integrations with
Slack. It would have to be in my phone or my computer or my television or my DirecTV box or some other device that would be in my living space.
No doubt.
Besides Skype.
And that's the problem I see for Microsoft, is that while I think that their vision is correct, I actually do think that these messaging platforms are the future. That's where I spend most of my day, as far as with friends texting and just conversations back and forth. And I only see that, and at work it's it's the same. Email. Obviously, you have Slack and other things of that nature. So I do think their vision is right, but since they've lost in hardware, it's going to be very tough for what you're saying. Like, are they going to be everywhere that you need them to be? And these platforms, they're betting on being pervasive. But what Microsoft has been doing lately, if you're an iOS user, you've probably seen this, is purchasing every good app on iOS. Yeah. So if there's a good, they bought.
And the battle of the living room, I don't think is over, and nobody's won.
Definitely not. It's definitely not.
Between Xbox and PlayStation and Nintendo, the battle for the living room is still underway, and there is no clear winner. Nobody, Xbox can't declare, "Oh, we won the." I don't think you have. I don't think PlayStation has. I don't think Nintendo has.
Yeah, I know. That's definitely. I mean, they just announced a new Roku stick, and and a lot of people still rave about the Roku devices. Yeah. So yeah, it's still early on days, and really a lot of that has to do with the regulations around cable boxes and things of that nature, which may change in the future. But so let's move on to another part of the big consumer facing announcement for now is the Windows 10 anniversary update, and basically,
and they're not calling it a new version.
Yeah, that's the funny part.
It's not going to cost you anything extra.
Yeah.
It's just an update.
Yeah, so I mean, I my daily interfacing with Microsoft is with my Xbox One, and they moved to these live updates, rolling out every month, and I'm a huge fan of the idea. Last night, my Kindle, I go to my bed and I see it's lit bright, and it's getting an automatic update.
Yeah.
And I never think, I'm sure that it would suck if it was a critical life device and all of a sudden you needed it in the moment and it's live updating. That definitely would be problematic.
Hey, my security system does that too. At like 2 a.m. It does, an update, a firmware update, and so does my thermostat now.
Yeah, so I just think that's current, the future. And honestly, I think it makes on the Xbox what I purchased when I bought that console, a couple of years ago, and what I have today are completely different, and it's vastly changing every single month. And to some users, that's problematic, and obviously Microsoft, when they changed the Windows Start menu, that caused a lot of people to get mad. So they're a lot more sensitive to that issue now. But that being said, there's a lot of little updates that are happening. One of the coolest ones for me is Windows Hello support, because we were actually talking about 1Password, which is a password app where you're able to create passwords and keep them in your devices, encrypted passwords. And that way you can kind of have a much smarter way of doing your passwords. But the problem is it's still a headache, even with 1Password, which helps you do it. So something like this, where it uses biometric authentication, very much like Touch ID on your Mac, on your iOS devices, is very great. And what's nice about this is that it is on the PC, but also going to be used on the web. So you'll be able to sign in. They showed, I believe, the USAA website being logged into with biometric scanning, and that's just awesome, because the day that I don't have to use, type in a password, remember my password. Well,
yeah, but didn't they show a demo too where it wasn't using a fingerprint? It was using facial recognition.
Yeah, Windows Hello uses facial recognition as well. Yeah, and so you hear.
So I think that's a lot better than my finger, because they could certainly cut my finger off and then start using that, but they can't cut my head off. Well, they could cut my head off, but that's a little bit more difficult to carry around a head and putting it in front of my PC to unlock it. Yeah. So,
unless it's Game of Thrones.
And you know what? If they have my head, you can have whatever you want then. It's useless to me. I'm dead. I don't have to worry about it. But if you have my finger, then I got a lot of problems. I got a half a finger, and now I got to figure out how to get my identity back with a half a finger. So, I like the facial recognition. I think that would be a lot better. And I think that I guess the question I have is, could somebody have a really good HD picture of me and hold it up in front of my PC and unlock it?
I think the answer is yes. I think I've seen, I don't want to say that without knowing 100% honest, so don't hold me to that. But I definitely think that
these are the things I think of when they talk about
these things. I've read these type of things, and I do think to some extent, but the thing with Windows Hello and all these facial recognition features is that they only get better. Because let's say today they use 30 points on your face, by next year it'll be 100, and then it just becomes harder and harder for bad guys to do anything wrong with to that effect.
And I don't think the camera, obviously on your laptop is good enough to do like a retina scan, because obviously a retina scan is like a fingerprint. So if it did a face and retina match, well then it's a pretty you have a two authentication of who I am. But we're talking about them putting on some really high-tech cameras on your laptop.
Oh yeah, I don't know exactly the whole details about Windows Hello features, but I do know that I wanted to. We purchased a Windows PC with Windows 10 recently in my house in Miami, and we don't have the latest webcam. We're using an old screen that I need to replace, and I was looking to get a Windows Hello camera so that I can have that feature. So there are hardware.
So the laptop didn't come with its own camera?
Oh, we bought a tower. We bought a PC tower. So we didn't buy all the other hardware. Okay. So I've been buying it individually, and I wanted to go ahead and purchase a Windows Hello capable camera because it's just a cool feature. I actually, the camera that I have that does this is the Xbox One's Kinect. The Kinect camera signs me on, and it recognizes me, and as soon as my mom walks into the living room or something to that nature, it goes, "Hello, Norma," So it's incredible, the technology, and it knows, it identifies this is Norma and this is Raphael, and like it knows really. So believe it or not, these cameras are pretty powerful. And the Kinect is a large device.
Mhm.
So, but I'm pretty sure that now what they're using Windows Hello is very similar, and I bet they've shrunk down the technology. So I agree with you. It's not 100% foolproof, and you're not going to see this on enterprise. So if you're
Yeah.
really worried about security, you're not going to be turning on these
Yeah.
features.
But they were
But
using this feature also to make purchases on the web too, which could be scary. I mean, if it's storing your credit card information, and somebody's sitting there, holding up pictures of you and buying cars, Tesla 1, Tesla 2, Tesla 3, Tesla 4, Tesla 5,
that's why I advise American Express, Tony.
I
All
don't know.
right.
I'm just,
So
I have concerns about that, but I like the idea because I just did something. What did I do? I signed up for a stamp thing online, and in order for me to get my account, it did not allow me to put in a password. I had to put in a passphrase, and it had to be a minimum of 16 characters.
Jeez.
To start. 16. I'm thinking, oh my God, I don't even know my name. How do you want me to remember 16 characters?
And so that's my thing. So even if the security isn't perfect, it's the same thing I always argue
I
with
think I
Touch
wrote
ID.
something like, I hate this password or something, because it was like, what? That's crazy. They're saying actually that passphrases are easier to crack because most of them are just all alpha.
Yeah.
And with a password cracker, all it has to do is go through the alphabet and ding, 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 and it's like, picking off cherries. So, I don't know.
So I think with Windows 10, you're going to have, obviously, the Windows Hello. Cortana is going to be upgraded, so it's going to have...
Yeah, I saw the Cortana stuff, and it looked pretty good.
Yeah.
I think Cortana is actually a little bit better than my friend Siri over here.
Because I think what Cortana does well is that Siri is hampered by the whole Apple mantra of security and privacy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like everything's private on Siri either, but they do go to some loops and some holes to make sure that basically everything stays on the device. Microsoft does a lot of that as well, and they actually it's very neat how you can kind of go line by line and really turn things off, just kind of like Google Now as well.
Yeah.
But I would actually think Microsoft kind of goes right in between Google Now as far as openness and Siri as far as closed or more secure
system. Because Cortana feels almost more like a personal assistant.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's how they marketed it. And so I like Cortana. I use it constantly, and now it's available on iOS. I still think the iOS version of it, it is. I had it downloaded and I took it off because I'm kind of going through a clean sweep of my iPhone because I have pages and pages of apps, so I need to kind of reduce that a little bit.
I did that already.
Spring cleaning. Mm-hmm. But Cortana is something that I will watch for. Again, Microsoft is very much, they know that they've lost on mobile, and they're circumventing that with what they hope the bots will take off through messaging platforms that'll be into these mobile devices. And then, of course, by purchasing apps, from the calendar apps on iOS and even on Android, they have plays as well. But I actually, and I put this bullet point here because I kind of wanted to say I told you so, which is Windows Ink. Because Microsoft showed just some apps that do some pretty interesting things using the stylus. And the reason I say I told you so is because last podcast we were talking about the iPad Pro and 9.7 with the pencil, and I just said I think the real apps that we'll see for these styluses haven't really come out yet. And so I thought it was really interesting how Microsoft, which really has had styluses for decades now, we've had it for at least since the 90s. I remember these giant tablet PCs that were I won't say they were junk, but they were a lot to carry around. But they did. And what was neat about it was that then the map, he was able to put it into 3D mode, and it still kept the line that he drew. It was smart enough to then render it into 3D. So it was just
Wow.
this really, really, really powerful look at the potential of what something that could be, not, as close to analog, but digital that we can, do. Because writing at the end of the day, and this is a point Microsoft made, I forget the exact statistic, but they actually tweeted out something at the developer conference that had a statistic about how much people still use pens in their daily lives. And I know I don't use it as much because I know what happens to notes that you write down on pieces of paper. They get lost. So I like to do everything digitally. But now with pens, you can still create your notes, and then obviously there's still potential out there for creating apps that do more than that.
Sure. And I think I saw them with the virtual ruler, and they're drawing up against
Yes,
it,
yes.
and where even though you're putting your hand on the tablet and holding this virtual ruler, that wasn't affecting the image. Yeah.
It was that ruler. I know it's funny to think that a virtual ruler would get applause, but that was one of the largest applause lines. I think it's also because the presenter is a very good presenter, very flamboyant. He's a fun guy, but he really showed off this simple hand drawing tool that a lot of people could use, from an architect all the way down to a simple person just doing a simple drawing, maybe of your room as you're going to plan for adding new furniture to your room. So really, I thought the ruler was actually a very interesting. So I'm not saying that these Windows Ink features alone are right now something that's going to change your life per se. But I do think the potential for that, what they showed and what people can do, is kind of what I was talking to, in the sense that I really think there's going to be developers that push these ideas forward, because it just feels natural to be able to say, it's just like a touchscreen, felt natural when the first iPhone came out. Everybody was like, hey, this iPhone's okay, but wow, this touchscreen's amazing because I can just flip through my phone, photos and things of that nature. That's something that people just caught on quickly. I think that same thing will happen with pen styluses, because it's very easy to draw a point here and a point there. Another thing that they showed, specifically now that I remembered about the points, is that they showed their Bing Maps, and you were able to draw a point A and point B as your destination, and it would calculate your drive just from those two dots. So it's just turning these analog things that you are now into digital.
Yeah,
which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, that's cool. Cool stuff.
One last thing about Microsoft, really quick, is that part of this summer update, which is the Windows anniversary update, we're going to have an update to the Microsoft Xbox console. And the biggest news there is that the promised Universal Windows App Store is now actually going to finally be universal and is coming to the Xbox. So that means that developers who develop an app for a Windows platform, for the Universal Windows App Store, will be able to also have it be on the Xbox. Obviously, they'll have to do some coding to make it show up on the Xbox, but it means that the Xbox should be getting a lot more apps. Now, whether that means you'll be able to run Microsoft Office on the Xbox, I guess I'm still skeptical on that. But it makes sense, and Microsoft is definitely moving the Xbox to be just another Windows PC and another Windows device. So I think that's very interesting. And as an Xbox owner, I definitely love it, because I think there's so much potential in the TV. And I agree with you. I think we're at the start. I don't think anybody's cracked it. And I think the more development we have there, the closer we'll get to where we're going. Because obviously these companies all look at each other. They say that they're all unique, but they all copy. And they look at what the best ideas are out there on the market. And so I think anybody advancing it to some extent will help advance it for everyone else. And with that, I say we get into the Tesla news. Because that was kind of exciting just to watch. Yeah,
that was, I think he's the next Steve Jobs.
Elon Musk.
Yeah. I can never remember his name. It's always like here.
That's because he's not Steve Jobs yet.
Well, he's working his way up there.
Oh, he's definitely.
There's always rumors about what this company is doing, who's trying to buy this company. This guy must be fielding calls from I can't even imagine what car manufacturer saying, "Can we talk about buying your company, incorporating what you've done?"
I mean,
Uh,
yeah. Honestly, I don't know how if you're GM, Ford, or any of these companies, you're not scared. And it's not so much scared is that I just don't see how they compete. And I don't know how even Apple competes. I mean, and
yeah,
that's something I guess we'll talk about later. Is can an Apple car really come out in 2020 when Tesla's had this lead? I think there's some reasons why maybe they could, and we'll get into that. But so did you watch? What did you see of the event? What did you think? What did you see? What did you think about the car itself?
I think the car is fascinating. The gold wing doors that are smart enough to figure out that there's cars parked next to them, and then make the adjustment to go up. The fact that it's cheap. Uh, they're saying that this car can go, uh, was it 216 miles on a single charge now,
Yeah,
right?
it's definitely just above 200 miles. Yeah, it's like 210 to something like that. Yeah.
The
But
thing
the
that
the, the low wing doors though are on the Model X.
oh, the Model X, was it
That's
on
the
that?
yeah.
The other thing I think that this car is is part of, and I think it's a people, is that it is part of the Tesla supercharge network.
That's a
So you can drive this car to any Tesla supercharged network, and it in like 20 minutes or something, it'll almost fully charge the car for free.
yeah.
Now, free electricity for your car, that's like getting free gas. That's like you buying a Chevy, Bolt or whatever Impala, and then Chevy saying, if you just go to a Chevy gas station, we'll give you free gas. That will never, ever, 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 ever happen with a gas car.
And that's exactly why this even at 35,000, the it's kind of a transformational car because it's not in the old model.
Yeah,
This is just a new way of thinking and a new way of pricing.
right.
And I honestly like people think, oh, it's still expensive because you need $7,500 tax credit, which now most people that well, I'll talk about that later.
Yeah,
But basically, even with that tax credit, it's still kind of expensive, vehicle, especially with the more affordable cars out there. But this is not it for Tesla. I mean, you have Elon Musk talking about that they're looking into trucks,
yeah,
because they know that trucks are another market that people love trucks in America, right?
yeah,
And of course across the globe as well. And then I don't think this is the end as far as their mass consumer vehicles. I think we'll see a cheaper priced
yeah.
car in the
Sure.
future. Maybe by the time the Apple car rolls out.
Yeah, you'll have a 2-door, you'll have a coupe, which will be cheaper. The other thing too is this car will have the autopilot hardware, and at this price point of $35,000, listen, I think it was CNET was driving around a version of this in Manhattan with their hands off the wheel, and this car was going in and out of lanes and
Yeah.
keeping pace with a taxi. And in Manhattan, a taxi comes to, they just slap on the brakes, and the car was, it didn't do the bam slam on the brakes. It just decelerated and slowed down.
So I was interested because like Elon Musk actually spent the first I would say 10 to 15 minutes of the presentation kind of doing the. I don't want to compare it to Al Gore because I do think it's a little different in style.
Mm-hmm.
But he did mention very much about the environment and how important electric vehicles were
Yeah.
to changing humanity. I mean, he really put it at this global scale where he showed the hockey stick graph of where temperatures are and things of that nature. Does that play into your purchasing decision, or do you just write that off completely?
It does play a certain percentage into it. I guess the first thing on my list is the technology,
Yeah.
the cost, is 215 miles,
enough for you.
For me now, yes, because a Disney park is only 12 miles, and they have charging stations in most of the parks now, at least in the parking lots. There's like two, I think, in every parking
Yeah,
lot.
we should say you live in Orlando.
I live in Orlando, so what I do on the weekends, I usually drive to a Disney park or Disney restaurant. So I'm only 15 miles away. So 250 miles would probably be enough. But if I was living back in State College and driving to New Jersey, which was a little over 300 miles, where would I stop?
Along the way.
Halfway along the way on I-80 in Pennsylvania to charge my car.
Mm-hmm.
It
makes you think about it more.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it.
So, so if I was driving this to work or commuting this, I am sure like downtown Orlando or all those other places, there have to be places, to charge a car. I don't know, and the other thing is, we live in Florida, you and I, and Florida electricity is a little bit higher because we demand a lot of it because of air conditioning. We have it on most of the time. It's hot here.
Yeah.
It's effing hot all the time. So, we probably run our air conditioners more than the average, house above the snow belt, would. So, to put in a charging system in my house probably would not be cheap, A, installation-wise, and B, to charge my car nightly. That would probably get to be expensive. Would it be more than gas? Probably. If I take a kilowatt hour compared to a gallon of gas right now, I think the gas might be cheaper.
Well, and that's an interesting topic to talk about because the detractors have said were people going to go buy the Model 3, considering that gas prices have plummeted to their lowest levels in somewhere like 10 years, and now they've kind of bounced it up a little bit. But I still think over the long term, I don't see how gas prices rise, which I know that's another outlandish position to take. But I actually think that this might be a turning point for oil prices. And don't do your stock picks on that. But I'm just saying because I think there's so many different technologies coming out. Not just obviously we've seen what shale gas has done to the price of oil, and I don't see that changing. I see more technologies coming out that replace some parts of the petroleum industry. Now, is it going to happen overnight? No, of course not. But my question is, clearly people have, there's been 276,000, I think was the last number, of pre-orders for this car. And you had to place $1,000, which is refundable.
Right.
But you had to place $1,000 onto the car. And 276,000 represents, it's somewhere in like 5th or 6th place of all the vehicle. If you look at the top vehicles sold last year in North America, it ranks somewhere in like the top 5 already from last year's numbers. So
the other car manufacturers, all of them, every single car manufacturer has to be laughing and crying at the same time, going, "Oh my God!"
Yeah.
All of the money we put into the R&D of XYZ car, and we can't sell probably 1/10 of that.
This is kind of a tangent, but I've always told my mother, like, when I go into a parking lot, it's very hard to see a car that's different. They're all the same. Yeah. The bodies are the same. And not to speak bad about Mercedes or BMW, but even those high-end luxury cars, and they're beautiful. There's no doubt denying their.
Well, you know why they're all the same? It's so that they can manufacture them all in the same line.
Yeah, yeah.
It's it's the Ford. If we have to have one assembly line, one frame, we can't deviate from that because we only can afford certain machining and tooling to build these cars.
Correct. Right.
The robot arms can only do a certain amount of things to make a certain amount of different cars without us retooling the entire factory of building a new one.
Yeah, and that's the promise of like 3D printed cars in the future.
And I've seen those. Those are great.
Yeah, so I think that's coming as well, and we have to believe that Tesla's thought about that as well.
I'm sure they have.
But in the current moment, what I just look at the landscape and I'm like, the only car that feels like it's doing anything different right now is the Tesla.
Yeah.
And I have to give credit to Nissan with the Leaf because obviously they're the highest volume seller, and even the Chevy Volt, has done some progress in that
And the
space,
Prius.
and the Prius, of course, with their hybrid vehicles.
Yep.
But that being said, like I feel like Tesla's really has something different, and that's why I do think, kind of like Apple, people will pay a premium price for this vehicle.
Yeah.
Although I will say some people did stand in lines for hours because they could get that $7,500 tax rebate, which I believe after a while actually gets reduced after certain numbers are used up.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure of the law, but I think there's something to that. So I think a lot of people want to be in there first, not only to get the vehicle hopefully first, but what do you think about the fact that the car is not going to ship till 2017 and people are already so excited?
That's ludicrous. That's ludicrous. Listen, my lease is up in July, and if the car was out in July, I would have considered it. I really would have. But I can't wait 2 years to be without a car. Listen, I could probably lease another car in July, and then when that lease is up, go for a Tesla. That might happen. Maybe we'll be on Tesla 4 by then, and maybe we'll have some other features in it. The other thing that I saw in this car is the screen.
Oh my God, the dash! Yeah, the lack of a dash, I should say.
It's got to be as big as a 40-inch television in there.
Yeah, it's a 15-inch screen, and it's in landscape. So
yeah,
I mean, anytime you get into a Tesla vehicle, if you've ever been able to lucky enough to see one at a dealer or test drive one or something to that effect, the first thing that everybody looks at is this large vertical screen.
How could you miss it?
Yeah, it took up the center console, but here they've gone with a much simpler design, but a landscape design, and it basically looks like an iPad, just maybe an iPad Pro oversized, and I think it's where. I actually believe a lot of people are saying, "Oh, where's the instrument cluster?" and they didn't like that.
You don't need one. You're not going to drive this car.
Exactly, and I think people are missing that 90% of the most driving will not take place in that. Like, you're going to be sitting down and using that tablet probably as an entertainment device.
Yeah.
And Elon Musk mentioned that this is only the first of two unveilings for this car, and really it was a short and brief thing. It was like, here's this 15-minute talk, and it was like 2 minutes on the environmental aspects, just 4 or 5 minutes talking about every feature from the safety features to things of that nature. But it was really, really a brief introduction into the vehicle. And again, we're talking about a car that's a year at least, away from production. So there's going to be a lot of changes between now and then. And I do think that by then the software will have been updated on the Model S and Model X. Sure. For auto drive 3 or 4 times before then.
Sure.
Who knows?
Yeah, because this car gets an auto update too.
Yeah. So what is this car gonna do?
Yeah, you don't have to go, flash the firmware yourself. The other thing I thought was interesting about this car is they're saying it can seat 5 adults comfortably, and it has 2 storage compartments, one in the trunk and one in the hood. And the reason for both of those things is they don't have an engine. So they're
makes life simpler, right?
Yeah, they're able to move the 2 front seats forward more and the 2 back seats back a little more, which they can stretch out that car and then make that space comfortable for those 3 adults in the back and the 2 adults in the front, and then put storage in both ends of the car on top of that. So I mean,
it's a small car.
You could put
you
could put like groceries in the front, and I don't know, the kids in the trunk. I don't know.
And then the other thing, to your point, that they did for making you feel like this car is bigger is that panoramic glass in the back kind of just goes right over you.
One piece of glass from front to back.
Yeah.
So listen, here's the thing: you're driving down the highway. And that rock comes off that dump truck, and what happens. And that tempered glass, you're just going to go, what the hell happened? You're going to be sitting in 3 inches of tempered glass sitting on the floor because your panoramic roof shattered. You know what'll happen. Right?
Oh, I just want to see.
Especially if you live in a place where, they throw rocks and sand, because it snows. In places like New Jersey and Boston and, Denver, in Denver they throw rocks, not sand, because they get a lot of snow. I don't know. I don't think that panoramic roof is going to last very long, my friends.
That's why actually they announced that they're trying to double the number of the chargers, both of the superchargers and the destination chargers. So they plan on doubling both of those by next year. Yeah. And the destination chargers, for those of you that have never heard of this, is basically that Tesla will partner with, let's say, the Hilton, which I'm not sure if they're partners or not, but I'm just giving an example. And when you leave your car or you valet your vehicle, they will automatically go and plug it into the wall for you, so that when you get your car in the morning, it's already charged up.
Sure.
So they're really they're creating quickly a network, which is pretty neat for kind of the first step in replacing the whole oil infrastructure, because there's no doubt about it. There's a gas station at every corner.
Yeah.
There's not an electric charging station at every corner.
Yeah.
But slowly but surely, and because of their own investment, there's going to be more. Now, my other problem with that is that when you have 276,000 orders of vehicles, now your projections on how many chargers you need invariably goes up. Now, of course, I'm sure Tesla's going to be looking for a new investment from partners now that they have these numbers to show off.
I think if you own one of these cars, you have to have a charger at home.
Oh, definitely.
I think you do.
Yeah, and that's the way 90% of people will charge their car.
Now, it's interesting, too, because there's a business they built on the end of my street, on the entrance there. And they got 2 electric chargers at each end of the parking lot. Now, the policy is during the day, those are for their employees. But at night, after they're closed, you can use those chargers for free to charge your car. And I'm thinking, well, great, if I had a Tesla, I'd just drive it up there at night. Go plug it in, take my bike back to my house, go pick up my car a couple hours later,
Talk about being green.
throw my bike in the front, throw my bike in the back, it doesn't matter, and then drive home with a fully charged car and just, let them, foot the tab of my electric bill.
Yeah, I mean, I've thought about this heavily because I want not too long ago I was looking to purchase a new vehicle and I didn't go through with it, but I was looking to get a electric vehicle. I was looking for instance on Leaf.
Yeah.
And I just looked into researched all of it, the batteries, and of course, when you look at Tesla and what they're doing, it's the premium experience when it comes to this. I mean, now with the battery that they have that you can install, obviously, Elon Musk's, I believe his brother is running that company called Solar City, where they basically lease the space on your roof and install a solar panel, and then they give you a locked rate for cheaper electricity over the long run.
They're not in Florida yet. I've already checked.
They're definitely not here yet. And
in the place that we get sunshine almost 350 days a year.
Yeah, that's because there's a lot of regulations and laws around that which have to change. But
the other thing too that I've heard, somebody lives down here and they have 2 hybrid cars, and something one of the dealers had mentioned to them. I forgot which one. They own a Ford and a Toyota, a Ford Fusion Hybrid and a Toyota Prius. Is in Florida, you have to be a little bit careful because the batteries get hot.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
They're batteries, and they're in your hot car sitting in a parking lot, where it's 110 out. So that diminishes their life.
Yeah.
And so, in Florida, you may wind up replacing your batteries, where in other places, in cooler climates, maybe up north-ish, you may not have to do that.
I mean, I don't know what Tesla's doing right now because honestly, I haven't checked into Tesla. But I do know that some companies are talking about leasing batteries. Mm-hmm. So I do think that is a something that
I assume that you can change them.
Yeah,
swap them out.
You can swap them out definitely, but the question is, where does the cost go?
Sure.
Are these dealers picking up some of the cost, or the consumer? So it's something that you definitely have to look into when you're going to purchase an electric vehicle. Mm-hmm. It's not like everything is perfect, but there are a lot of savings when you go to an electric vehicle because the typical repairs that you would do you just look at a vehicle and look how many moving parts there are in a combustion engine.
Yeah.
Not to mention just in all these cars. And that's why I think that this this vehicle at 35,000 is a huge stepping stone to lower the price of Tesla, and it was always Elon Musk's goal. He said he wanted to make these expensive cars like the Model S and before that the Tesla Roadster in order to pay for the production and the design work for this Model X, Model 3, excuse me, that would be lower in price. But I think eventually, since they're able to strip out all the costs because of not having a combustion engine and things of that nature, eventually I think they do get to that $20,000 car or that $25,000 car, let's say.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Maybe in a couple of years we're both going to own one. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll definitely see how the whole electric vehicle market takes place.
Yep. So I want to get to the pick of the week.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear. I love Nintendo. Nintendo is one of the greatest companies in the world, and they've kind of had a rough time of late.
I know.
With their console, and that saddens me as I had an N64 and Nintendo Super DS and all these other devices that they've come out with, but I did not pick up the Wii U, and I just felt they got left behind. But I still truly believe that they have a lot of ingenuity in that company. Mm-hmm. They make things that are fun, so I'm dying to hear about it for the week.
Yeah, I am a Nintendo fanboy. I've only ever owned a Nintendo gaming system. I've never owned anything else ever.
I'll make you.
Well, I take that back. Before there was Nintendo, there was Atari, and there was the Odyssey, and then we got into Nintendo. I even worked for a company called Captron. The guy who owned it made a couple of games for Nintendo, but the company, he owned some retail stores, and there was about 60 or 80 of them at the time. We only sold Nintendo hardware and software. And back in the day, we were also the only retail chain approved by Nintendo to do that. And we used to get, we had two suits. We had 2 Mario suits. I think there was one on the East Coast and one on the West Coast. And I've actually been in the Mario costume. I've actually played Mario, and I should really find some video or pictures of me in a Mario costume.
Yes, definitely. That should be on the Facebook page for sure.
Because I think that'd be funny. But yeah, so Nintendo came up. This is their first iOS app, and if you've had Nintendo, you've had a Mii, and then this game is called the Miitomo, where you kind of create your own little avatar here. And let me see if I can.
Do you know if you can export your Mii, like if you created on the Wii before or something to that effect? Creating a brand.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they.
I'm just opening up the app now for the first time. So
yeah. I don't know if they got that smart. So, you can create your Mii, and then you can go out and you can find your friends. Oh, there's an error code. That's good. You can change your clothes, and then you get points for your. Whoop, that's good. You get points for being stylish, and now we got stuff there. So you go out, and then you find you're connected, obviously, to Facebook, and then a friend will pop up like this, and I can click on my friend, and then I can have this conversation. Clicking with my friend here, and then you can talk to them. You can do, it's almost like the Sim world, but with a Nintendo Mii. And the other interesting is when you get this and you go to create yourself, you actually put the camera up, and it takes it's looking at your face, and then it goes through its selections of different
characters.
Yeah, characters and face recognition, and makes the face that it believes closest to yours.
That's
so
awesome.
You don't have to
spend time
figure out what glasses I have and what size or what shape my face is, and if you make different faces, it keeps adding more and more things for you to select from. So I thought that was fun. I'm still trying to figure it out.
Is it mainly like a message? What is the main use of it? Is it messaging, or is it just playing around with your character? What is?
It's you're socializing with your friends that you have on your different social networks.
And so it integrates with Facebook and Twitter.
And Twitter and Google, and I think in all those other kind of crazy things. I haven't figured out like how to change like the surroundings I'm in. Maybe I can't. Maybe I'm stuck with this plaid carpeting for the rest of my life and that 1960s stereo in the background there. Things like that. You can there's different greetings. And wait, let me turn this on. You can hear the music. So when I hit the
Hello.
that's the voice that I made it say.
Hello.
Here, I can do this one.
Check out Disney by the numbers scum. Check out Disney by the numbers scum. Later. See you in the parks.
So you type in that, and then the voice that you create for your character, it will say those greetings.
Yeah.
And that's what people will hear when it greets you. When you go to greet somebody, mine will say hello. But when I visit a friend, mine says check out DisneyByTheNumbers.com.
I think it's interesting that we were talking about Microsoft and trying to get into messaging apps, and here a lot of people said that it was kind of weird. We wanted Nintendo to make a game,
Right?
just a Mario, next Mario for iOS, and yet they came out with this Me app, and this might be why. It might be because it integrates with these type of services, and even that what you're talking about, having the messaging and having the voice. It kind of makes you want to use this messaging app.
Yeah. So this is the menu kind of here that you can see. So you can change your profile, and your profile is, where's the other stuff here? You can change your movement, your manners, and things like that. Your individuality, your expression, your attitude. So if you want to be social, you can make your me more social. If you're not social, then you can make your me not social. You can change your clothes. It takes different pictures. You get me photos. There's some pictures of my me photo during the day. It's kind like I'm saying. People come in. Your friends come in and out. You can actually chat. I mean, you can have a conversation with them. Whatever you type, gets said to the person on the other side in your me voice. So if they have the volume off, like I do, because I'm usually doing something at work, you'll just see the text, obviously, but you can still have those conversations. It's fun. You can link this to a Nintendo account. And I'm not sure what that total benefit is yet.
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely look into that because, like I said, I definitely had a Nintendo Wii, and I believe I created a Nintendo account with that. So maybe it does bring in your me or as a starting point, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
It definitely has a frequently asked questions, but yeah, it's probably gonna be.
Yeah. So then you kind of get asked these questions during the day too, like. What's been what does it say? What's been going on lately? I put chilling. Then it asked me, what's something you've noticed becoming really popular lately? I put Tesla. What current events have grabbed your interest? I said Tom Staggs is leaving Disney. It says, what kind of bread do you like? I put Kalamata bread. So it asks you all these crazy questions during the day.
Do you know what it's doing with this data mining?
It's sharing it with your friends.
Gotcha.
So when your friends say, well, what kind of bread does he like? He'll say, like, DVTN likes bread. He likes Colorado bread. So
Yeah.
listen, this is another great time killer.
Yeah.
I sit with this or Magic Kingdoms now all day, switching between the two. I'm editing video and I'm playing in these two stupid things all day long.
Yeah, so see, what Tony is envisioning is a world when you're sitting in your Tesla and doing nothing but playing on your, what is it, Midimo?
Yeah, Mitomo.
Mitomo. I wonder what that translates into.
I don't know. Me is, I don't know what that is.
It's their me.
Yeah, and Tomo, I have no idea. Yeah, so, and then it shows you, like, your recent interactions with your different friends as well. You got money answers, my friends. You can go shop. Obviously, more coins, you can get different clothing. Duh. Or you can buy it. Duh. Um, you know, so you can buy outfits. You can buy all crazy stuff for your me. Listen, if you have enough time and money, any of these apps, can make you bankrupt. I mean, the same thing with the Magic Kingdoms. I mean, you said you spent money on that app already, right?
Yeah. I'm kind of doing it as a test case. I've never used one of these I'm Facebook games. I just avoid them at all costs.
Uh-huh.
And this is the Disney Magic Kingdoms app that you're referring to is very much in that vein where you're farming and it's a free to play model, so they're constantly asking you to pay money. And that game really, in my opinion, is not a game that I would spend money on because I don't think there's a lot of value in the game as far as doesn't really have. It's very cool if you're a Disney fan, but it doesn't have a lot of gameplay features. There's not a lot you can do with it. So you're just tapping away mindlessly. So in that sense, I regret spending money on it. But I'm kind of doing it as just kind of I want to, as a tech user, and I kind of want to know what it's like to use these apps and why they've taken off in popularity. Why are people so addicted to these type of mobile games? That allow these companies to make so much money on mobile.
Yeah.
It has honestly that game to me. Some elements feel like a casino game, very addictive nature, and that's a little dangerous to me, especially when it's marketed to people like us, but also kids.
Yeah, I agree, because you really, on that game you could go visit other people's kingdoms, and I'm like, wait a minute. How did you build all of that stuff? That must have cost you like $50 because there's no way you could do that without spending a dime.
But I'll make you feel better. If you're referring to the first 4 kingdoms, they're PC players. They're not real humans. So that's why it's like showing you what you'll get when you spend your money.
Oh, all right.
Or your time.
All right. No, I don't feel so bad. But listen, there are some other people who are my friends on social networks, and I'm like, how did you build like 50 hamburger places? That must have cost you money. You can't do that on free play. Oh no, the hamburgers you can build with Magic. I can't believe we're having this conversation. Really? All right. Maybe I need a 3-year-old to explain it to me. All right. So yeah, go check out Miitomo. If you like Nintendo stuff, you'll like playing with your me, obviously. Like I said, I was excited that Nintendo came out with something for the iOS because this is the first thing. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
About time they have
they
something
definitely
for some kind of iOS. Did they have something for Windows or Android?
I don't believe
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't believe that. I believe this is their first. This is their first play into mobile space.
And it's being talked about all over the place. I mean, most of the tech podcasts and the places I watch or listen to things, they've all talked about it. So
yeah, because it's obviously, I mean, Nintendo's one of the biggest tech companies in the world. And even if not by size and finances, but as definitely in power and in mind share. When Nintendo does something, people watch, even if it ends up being a dumpster fire.
Okay.
But I do think they have a lot of promise on mobile. Right. This is just the first step.
Favorite Nintendo game?
Wow.
Well, give us your top 3.
Well, GoldenEye on the N64, Wii Sports was amazing. I mean, it's basically sold that console.
Yeah.
But to me, Zelda Ocarina of Time is like one of my favorite games on the N64 as well.
Yeah. I would have to say Mario 3 was my favorite. Mario 3, and I loved Duck Hunt.
Oh, Duck Hunt. Yeah, Duck Hunt is. I mean, if you're going classics, yeah. Duck Hunt. And that's the thing about Nintendo is that, and I played like Donkey Kong. It's so amazing, right. All the games that they come out with through the years, and honestly, I have
Tetris.
Tetris, yeah. So the Xbox and the PlayStation, they're amazing consoles. They do so many things just outside of gaming, and then their games are fantastic. But there's very few pure fun experiences on those consoles the way you get them on Nintendo consoles, and even to this day.
Yeah. We used to have, at our stores, we used to have Tetris tournaments on Saturdays. They used to start at 8 o'clock in the morning. You'd have to sign up. We'd have a bunch of consoles set up, and then the winners, and kind of bracket it down to, so winner. And some of these kids, and they were kids at the time, had some mad Tetris skills.
Oh, there's nothing like playing a video game nowadays online and realizing that the kids are gonna always be better than you.
It's like they had it memorized, and I think at some point you do memorize the pattern. I know Nintendo told us that those patterns were random. I think there was a pattern to some of
those early games, yeah.
Yeah, like Tetris and things like that. All right, kids, I think that's it. All right, see ya.
Bye, guys.
On behalf of Tony and Raphael, we hope you've enjoyed the Real Tech Podcast and hope that you will join them next week, where they will begin to dive into some of the gadgets they are currently using with tips and advice that may help you with your tech lifestyle.